Hey there, welcome to the first part of my new Childhood Trilogy series of YouTube videos, where I basically spend 3 months of my life talking about the 3 things that I spent the majority of my childhood with, hence the title. In this part, I talk about the beginning of my robot obsessions with the robots in disguise, also known as the Transformers. If you don't know what the Transformers franchise is exactly, you'd at least have some passing knowledge of the concept due to its not as immense popularity, but still a pretty large following. Either way, I'll give you a basic recap of what these things are, from a fan who's somewhere in between casual and hardcore. Though now that I think of it, it's more in line with casual. The Transformers started out as 2 or more obscure toy series from Japan. These toys all had this interesting gimmick which involves morphing, or transforming, robots into vehicles or devices and back into robots. Hasbro purchased the rights for these, imported them overseas, and turned all of these gimmicks and concepts into one toy line. Take a guess what that's called. In 1984, they released the first generation of Transformers toy figures, a cartoon based on the toys and the backstory that was written for them, and a comic series published by Marvel Comics. Yes, that Marvel. The general premise of all of this is that there's 2 warring robotic factions called the Autobots, aka the good guys, and the Decepticons, aka the bad guys. As you can probably guess, they are called the Decepticons. They crash land on Earth from their home planet, Cybertron, because of the millions of years of war ended up making the planet inhospitable. When they all wake up from their slumber from that crash, they scan a bunch of Earth vehicles and turn it into them in order to blend it with the humans, which is kinda unnecessary in the original cartoon since they just walk around and fight in front of the humans in plain sight. After that, they're off to doing whatever the hell they want, usually with the Autobots defending Earth and the Decepticons wanting to steal this stuff called Energon. Wait, what's Energon, you may ask? Oh, it's only just their blood and fuel, used to power every goddamn thing on Cybertron because not everyone can afford gases with these prices. So why not just use their own damn life source? Anyways, the franchise became a smash hit and a staple in many toy collections all over the world for generations to come. It spawned tons of sequel series, spin-off series, reboots, and a bunch of other external media, such as comics and video games. The latter we'll get into in a couple minutes, all adding to and changing up this surprisingly deep lore. Characters like the tyrannical Decepticon leader Megatron, the plucky young Autobot scout Bumblebee, and the noble Autobot leader Optimus Prime even became pop culture icons, no less in part due to Optimus's silky smooth voice in his case. Despite it being more than 35 years old, they still managed to remain really popular due to not being afraid to change concepts, add new concepts, or reinvent what Transformers is almost down to its core. Sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't. But in the end, they're bold moves that help make the series what it is today. I started to get into this thing at around 2007 or 2008 with Transformers animated toys as part of my toy collection. As time went on, my parents got me more and more into Transformers with toys and crap to watch, including Animated, the Childhood Trilogy, the 1986 movie, and the one everyone nowadays associates with the brand, the live-action movies that were directed by the one known as Michael Bay. And guess what? I ate it all up, like chocolate M&Ms. This shit was basically everything to me. I even met my first real friend all the way back in grade 1 because he had a shirt with a couple of Decepticons on it. And despite more than a decade passing, we still managed to talk to each other and bond over Transformers to this day. Later on when I got a bit older, including nowadays, I sort of fell out with the franchise a bit. Not enough to where I don't like it, but let's just say I'm not as much of a fanatic as before. I basically stopped getting the toys, but I would still keep up with any related news and series that came out, such as the other movies, Prime, Robots in Disguise, which was crap, the Prime Wars trilogy, also crap, Bumblebee, Cyberverse, and now the War for Cybertron trilogy on Netflix. I even went online and dug up Beast Wars on YouTube, but can I ask why it was called Beasties here in Canada? Oh well. Speaking of, here's an interesting tidbit. Beast Wars was actually one of the first fully CG TV shows ever, made by Canadian company Mainframe Entertainment, who also made the actual first fully CG TV show. Okay, I'm getting a bit off track, but that's some of the basic history of the franchise, and I guess most of my history as well. The other bit comes from the video games based off of this thing. including playing Revenge of the Fallen half to death in its DS version, or the DS Autobots version, because I don't know why they decided to make the two campaigns separate releases. There's also Dark of the Moon, The Superior, Fight Me, War for Cybertron, and Fall of Cybertron, developed by High Moon Studios. The latter two are, pretty decent. Rise of the Darkspark, which tries to make you think it was made by High Moon. And the last Transformers game released on console, before Battlegrounds, the Platinum Games developed, yes, that Platinum Games, Transformers Devastation, aka the obscure and underrated gem with a goddamn fantastic soundtrack. If you're not going to play this game, at least do me a favor and listen to this music on YouTube, and make sure you do not miss out on Menasor and Starscream's boss themes. These songs absolutely kick ass, and are perfect for when you kick their asses. It only sucks that you can't find any of these games on digital storefronts because most of them were just taken off, due to licensing mumbo jumbo. But unlike what happened to that Scott Pilgrim game, these had physical versions at launch, so you could probably get them for cheap secondhand. But also, unlike that game, I doubt they would be getting any re-releases anytime soon. So seeing as Transformers was such a huge part of my life back then, and even still has a place in my heart nowadays, you'd probably guess it would have a pretty decent sized influence on how I think about things I like. And you'd be absolutely correct. Transformers brought out my love for any robotic designs out there, which isn't saying much when I was into Cars and Wall-E back then when I was even younger. This, as you could probably guess, would later on also influence my early art style and designs, with almost everything I make or draw having to have some sort of cybernetic element to it, including the thing I use to communicate motion to you, aka my avatar. I mean, what the hell do you think these things are? Elf ears? Actually, I barely even know what the hell they are. Didn't I make them as headphones or something before? Oh well. You could even see hints of these influences in my early YouTube videos, such as The Legend of Lukeshardo and the Wormholes. I'm never gonna get used to saying it. Which you could learn more about in my storytelling video or my old channels video. But in a nutshell, the premise to the original version of that story had elements that one wouldn't be entirely wrong about thinking that they came straight from the previously discussed premise of Transformers. You got the warring factions of large sentient alien robots on a dying planet I even so creatively called Tranquan. There's even more examples, but I'm not going to force myself to go back to watch my earlier content. You can do that yourself. Hell, this franchise is such an influence and so inspiring that even my friends want to join in. Right? Right? Okay then, that's all the time we have for now. Moving on to something else, thank you very much. So yeah, in conclusion, it's pretty clear why I, and many others, liked this series even all the way back then, and why it was such an important part of my youth. It still has a unique charm and a ton of potential in it that has yet to be seen. From what started as an interesting selling point compared to all the action heroes, dolls, and monsters, to an icon of geek culture and school playgrounds alike. I'm happy to have been a fan of Transformers back then, and I'm still happy to enjoy it nowadays as well. I doubt that my love and interest for this crap will go away anytime soon. And that seems to be it for this part of my Childhood Trilogy. I hope that you've enjoyed what you saw, and that you stick around for the rest of this series to come. Unless the other parts are already out by the time you're watching this, in that case, I hope you watch those as well. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel for more crap like this, and all the other stuff to make YouTube happy. Lastly, check out my website in the description below. Just do it. Anyway, I'll see you next time.